Hi, my name is Keelan Blackwell, and this is my presentation, my final research presentation for EPM 4910. The title of my work is Sustainability and Social Justice, Green-Collar Jobs in the Inner City. So the central question for my research is how can green-collar jobs be used to reduce socioeconomic disparities? I believe this question is exceedingly vital. Usually environmentalists think about how sustainable practices can protect the environment, but we do not spend as much time thinking about how sustainability could close historically problematic socioeconomic disparities as well. I believe the emerging green industry could be a unique opportunity to revive America's inner cities and reduce the racial socioeconomic disparities in our country. This is why this research question is so important. My research focuses on how emerging green industries can help to close the socioeconomic gaps in America, as I believe that this is a very glaring gap in the literature and in the current research. Okay, so in terms of my specific project that I was crafting, we look at the objectives, outcomes, and the logic model. The primary objective is to identify the tangible impacts of green-collar jobs in the inner city. As I really wanted to kind of dig deep and find if green-collar jobs could really make a difference in turning around the social plight of urban ghettos. So I seek to explore this topic by asking the following research question, which is how can green-collar jobs be used to reduce socioeconomic disparities? Now, in terms of my research's outcomes, of course I don't have any real results, but based on what I've read, I can project that it seems like green-collar jobs do have an impact, and it could be a suitable replacement for the former blue-collar jobs that once sustained inner-city communities. It seems that green-collar jobs offer higher wages that enable workers to better take care of their families, and they do not require advanced degrees, and the green industry have explosive growth prospects over the next 40 years. So in terms of my specific research, the exact outcomes I want to look at and track are job quality, business growth prospects in terms of individual firms, and sort of family and community impact due to these green-collar jobs. Looking at the logic model, I chose to use the case study model, which is in line with existing research and can add by focusing, and I believe this can also add by focusing on real-world examples to kind of make sustainability less theoretical and more pragmatic. And in terms of the primary implementation considerations, I have to be very sensitive to my study's credibility. For the research I'm conducting is highly qualitative, so mitigating research bias is going to be very, very key in terms of performing my research. Now, in terms of intended uses for my study, the intent use for the results is to first bridge ideals and action divide. I hope that our research can both further the literature on sustainability, social justice research, but also provide practical information that can aid practitioners of this very important work. Furthermore, I hope to draw attention to effective models in the sustainable social justice movement so that others can learn and replicate their efforts to advance propagating green-collar jobs in the areas that need it most. Finally, I hope to generate further interest in researching the relationship between sustainability, business, employment, and social justice. In terms of the primary users of the study results, I believe there are three main primary users of this study's results. First, I hope to inform public policymakers so that they can have more information in formulating sound policy decisions. Second, I hope to aid civic activists who work to implement socially beneficial solutions through sustainability. Finally, I hope that my work becomes a tool that business leaders will use in considering models that generate green jobs profitably in the inner city so that industry leaders can begin to look towards the inner city as a potential place for investment. Now, in terms of my data collection and analysis, I tied the outcomes to the central research question of the ability of green-collar jobs to close historical socioeconomic disparities. The specific outcomes that I looked at are things such as job quality and satisfaction, company culture, annual salaries of workers, as well as promotion prospects, and impacts on the family community at large, with specific indicators such as impact on poverty and crime. In order to collect the evidence, in terms of my methods for collecting my evidence, I will employ interviews, questionnaires, business observations, and review quantitative business data. I will further analyze and evaluate the findings through the lens of the overall economic impact on unemployment and other poverty indicators in the neighborhood. In terms of the timeline and status, the project is still pending, but I anticipate it will take about a year to collect and analyze all the data in order to really do a full, comprehensive study. In order to enhance the credibility of this study, I plan to employ at least 2 other team members on my research team, one with a background in sociology and the other with an economics background. I believe this will complement my environmental policy background so that it will once again mitigate researcher bias, as well as sort of provide multiple perspectives when interpreting the data from our qualitative research tools. All right, in terms of the project size and sampling technique, I decided to kind of keep it small initially. So my study will have a sampling size of 2 different Chicago-based urban farming outfits. The reason why I decided to focus on urban farming is because urban farming is within the green industry. It's becoming pretty big here in Chicago, so I will have easy access to different urban farming firms. And it's generally considered as low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of vacant lots in major cities, and it's very common for, or like one of the newer movements is to try to convert these vacant lots and vacant manufacturing companies into new urban farms that are practicing aquaponics, hydroponics, even traditional agriculture. So I'm choosing to have one nonprofit firm as well as another for-profit firm. The nonprofit firm will be the Wood Farm, which is located in the Inglewood neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. And the for-profit firm will be Garfield Produce, which is located in East Garfield Park on the west side of Chicago. The sampling technique will focus on these organizations because they are similar in size, type, and are located in 2 impoverished Chicago neighborhoods. So I wanted to see how many consistencies we could get across with having 2 firms that, have about the same number of people. They're doing the same kind of work. They're in similar locations in the sense that they're both in desolate inner city neighborhoods. And the only difference is that one's for-profit, the other's non-profit. But I just want to see if I could find some common themes between these 2 firms. As the lead researcher, in terms of distribution and discussion of the results, as a lead researcher, which will be me, I'll be responsible for distributing the research results. So I believe a synopsis of the findings will be distributed to academic conferences in the fields of sociology, environmental studies, political science, and business, as well as to leading business, civic, and governmental bodies. Finally, the results will be distributed shortly after finalization of the research results, so I'm thinking no more than 2 or 3 weeks after my research is completed. In terms of critique of my project plan, I believe that our research design will be accepted, and I think that it will be well received within the larger discipline of environmental policy. There seems to be recent interest in the topic area, so I think people will be eager to hear our findings. There are limitations to our study, mainly due to limited sample size of only 2 firms, focusing solely on urban agriculture while neglected other green industries such as green buildings, solar, renewable fuels, etc. The research design is conventional in line with other research in my area. In terms of ensuring credibility and accuracy of the study, we utilize multiple researchers to gain different perspectives. We cross-check our data and use data triangulation techniques to enhance it. Okay, in terms of my final thoughts and reflecting upon my work, I think that there's increased interest in pursuing this, or I personally have increased interest in pursuing this topic. Just kind of like reading the existing literature and, sort of doing some initial dabbling in terms of, seeing the potential impact of green-collar jobs. I think it's something that could be pretty big in the future. I think it could be a game changer for social justice if people begin to embrace it and understand the potential ramifications of the work. And the other thing that's really exciting for me is the potential real-world implications of this research. I think this is something that practitioners in the field will be highly interested in reading and drawing from my research and some of my ideas and implementing the ones that they think make sense. So I think it's pretty cool that this is research that has a direct action component to it. So I find all this to be very exciting. All right, any questions? Thank you. No questions. That's my research presentation. Thank you very much.